on Sky Channel 752 and across social media to handle British Muslim TV. Wherever you are joining us from around the world, a very warm welcome. Now, with the first program since Ramadan started, from everyone here on my program and wider across British Muslim TV, Ramadan Kareem, may we get the blessings of this beautiful month, and please keep watching British Muslim TV for exclusive programs and obviously charity appeals with our partners throughout the month. Now, we want you to comment on the big stories we're covering tonight. Call us now on 01924 231 083. Messages on WhatsApp. The number is on the screen. And if you're watching this on Facebook, post your comments in the chat box. We'll get through some of them later. Tonight, first, we head to Liverpool and speak to the barrister, Deputy Lord Lieutenant, community activist Zia Chaudhry, MBE DL, about his career, his service, his community activism, and his time representing the royal family in the county. We then head to Blackburn and talk to Mohammad Quraishi from the new Crescent Society about how we can end the moon wars and have one Eid. Thankfully, this year, we all had the beginning of Ramadan on one day. What does Eid al-Fitr look like in a few weeks' time? We'll find out what the science says and the observatory reports are saying. And
Muslim Global Relief.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت سيدنا محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة والدرجة الرفيعة وبعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وأته وارزقنا شفاعته يوم القيامة إنك لا تخلف الميعاد.
O Allah, owner of this perfect call and owner of this prayer to be performed, bestow upon Muhammad al-Wasila and al-Fadila and send upon him a raised platform which you have promised him. Verily, you never fail in your promise.
Muslim Global Relief, bringing hope to life for 20 years in over 40 countries around the world.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Questions with me, Mohammed Shafiq, exclusively here on British Muslim TV. As we said, the questions we're considering tonight: how can we unite to defeat Islamophobia? Will the Ummah ever unite to moon sighting? How important is it that we read books to our children? Please share your thoughts now on 01924 231083. Messages on WhatsApp, post on social media, and we read some of your comments throughout the programme. Right, let's get started on the programme. The often said thing in society is that extremes on both sides try to pull communities apart and spread division. Amongst this division, there are some people who are working to bring communities and people together with a genuine spirit of understanding and cooperation. You see, if we can learn and respect one another, then the extremists fail, which is their aim is to divide communities. It is that intensive community work, dialogue between communities, that is key to bringing people together. My next guest is Zia Chaudhry, MBE and DL. He's had a distinguished career as a barrister. He's a speaker, activist. He's a Deputy Lord Lieutenant of Merseyside. That means he represents the royal family in the county. And in Liverpool, he's known for his interfaith work. Pleased to say Zia Chaudhry is joining us live now to reflect on his life story, live from the city of Liverpool. Assalamu alaikum, Zia. Welcome to the programme. Great to have this conversation.
Welcome, Salam Shafiq. Nice to be here.
I don't think we can hear you at this point. Can you hear me now, sir?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, I can't hear you in my ear, but I'm sure the studio's telling me we can hear. Let me ask you the first question and we'll sort this out. Ramadan Kareem to you and your family. How's the fasting going?
Alhamdulillah, Ramadan's going very well so far. I hope it is for you and your audience as well. So let's have a blessed month.
Sorry, I can't hear you. We'll come back to you in a second, Zia. Apologies for the delay, but as these technical issues, we'll resolve them. But whilst we're waiting to resolve them, let's just remind ourselves the power of Ramadan, the power of this beautiful month, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us so many opportunities to benefit from the blessings. And you see it in the conversations which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam around the establishment of prayer. The issue, a conversation between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Holy Prophet ﷺ was around, do we understand the power of prayer? And when the Prophet ﷺ went to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we were given 50 prayers, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was so merciful that He gave us the order for 50 prayers, but reduced it to 5 a day, but we get the reward of 50. Anyway, Zia, can you hear me now?
I can, yes. Can you hear me?
So I can't hear you, but can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, let me ask you a question. Ramadan Kareem, how is the fasting going?
Alhamdulillah, it's going very well, thank you. And I hope it is for you and your audience as well.
Yeah. Okay, let's start at the beginning. I can hear you now, sir. Thank you. What was your childhood like and growing up was it Liverpool?
No, I actually was born in Burnley. And so spent the first few years of my life in a place called Briarfield. And my childhood there was absolutely fine and got very interesting when my father announced that we were going to move to Liverpool, because that was a big deal back then. All the family lived around Nelson, Briarfield, Burnley. And so when he decided we'd move to Liverpool, that was quite a shock back then. But I was lucky because my father was an educated man. He was a teacher. And so my childhood was blessed by having this real educational influence in it throughout.
Yeah, education was really important. And where did the interest in terms of becoming a lawyer come from?
Initially, it was because I didn't want to become a doctor. So basically, I was a reasonably bright kid. And you know what it's like when you're reasonably bright in our communities, everyone says you're going to be a doctor. And so that's what was expected of me. And then when I was about 9 years old, I thought, you know what, I don't really fancy this poking my hand around in other people's bodies. I don't think being a doctor's for me. And luckily, we had a very close family friend, relative really, who was a barrister. So I was able to see that this guy's got a lot of respect from my father. He's very well educated. He leads a good life. He's got a nice house, nice car. So maybe this is a path I should go down. I didn't really know too much about it then. Obviously discovered later on what it entailed, but it was more down my street, than being a doctor.
Yeah, and because you described that you were accepted in Liverpool, unlike in Yorkshire. I mean, obviously being from Lancashire, I can understand why, because we're the better county. But what do you mean by the fact that you were accepted in Liverpool and not in Yorkshire?
I think I'm trying to recall the context in which I said that. And it was probably said later on, actually, in my, career, because as a barrister, I was very readily accepted in Liverpool. Absolutely no problems from colleagues, from judges, from solicitors, from court staff. And I remember doing some cases in Yorkshire on occasion, going to Bradford, Crown Court, going to Leeds, and I just sensed that I was being treated a little bit differently there. They were a bit off with me. And then I thought, I'm just being paranoid. It's just, it's a different place. And then one of my friends who's a, Pakistani Muslim solicitor in Leeds, he came to Liverpool and he said to me, can't believe this. They've just called me Mr. Ahmed. And I said, who? He said, the court staff. I said, well, what else are they going to call you? You're a solicitor. He says, yeah, but, up in Bradford, they couldn't care less. They just treat us the same as the defendants. And I realized then that, Liverpool was much more welcoming, partly because we have a very different sort of Muslim community here than there are in Bradford, Leeds, and a lot of those places. And that was the first time it really dawned on me that it actually impacts on the way people look at you across the board. Everyone gets tarred almost with the same brush on occasion, whereas Liverpool was a very different experience.
Yeah, because you'd often looked at the prism of suspicion when it comes to Muslims in the legal industry like that.
Yeah, I mean, I know, and it was a shock to me when I first started going up to Leeds or Bradford.
Sorry, Zia, we're just going to have to take a quick break. Apologies to interrupt you there. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll talk to Zia Chaudhry, MBE, DL, the Deputy Lord Lieutenant of Merseyside, is our special guest this afternoon. Join us on the side of these important yet short.
Right then, let me show you around. This is where the action happens. Great thing about this job, every day is different. It's our new piece of kit. Good enough. It can be hard work here, but we know how to have a laugh. So then, when can you start?
अदा असांजे मींहं वसिया ॾाढा असां ॾाढो परेशान थियासीं असांजे ॿोॾ अची वई घर खां बेघर थी वियासीं असांजूं जायूं किरी पियूं कुझु न रहियो असांजो सखणा सिर वठी असां निकिता आहियूं उतां बच्चा असांजा मज़ूरी कंदा आहिनि त खाईंदा आहियूं जे न कंदा आहिनि त असां कॾहिं चुल्हो बि न ॿारींदा आहियूं असां सां इहे मजबूरियूं आहिनि पोइ हिते वेठा आहियूं अची खीमा ॾिना अथऊं खीमनि में वेठा आहियूं असांखे अटो मिलियो खाइण जो सॼो ई राशन मिलियो जेको असां खाईंदासीं जंहिंमें हर शइ मौजूदु आहे उन में थांव बि किचन जा सजाई असांखे ॾिना अथऊं असांजे भाइरनि जी महिरबानी आहे उन में बाल्टियूं आहिनि बदना आहिनि अलाह उन्हनि भाइरनि खे अञा गंज ॾींदो असांजी ईअं मदद कंदा
Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to Questions with me, Mohammed Shafiq. My special guest is Zia Chaudhry, who's joining us live from the city of Liverpool. Zia, we were talking just before the break about the contrast between being welcome in Merseyside and the situation in Yorkshire. But after we were talking again, we looked collectively as Muslims, South Asian people or black people, suspiciously in the legal sector. You were just talking about that. Just kind of finish that point for us before we move on.
Yeah, it was just the difference that I experienced in Liverpool as compared to when I was up in Yorkshire. And I realized that there, because there are unfortunately so many Muslims in the criminal justice system as defendants, often the lawyers were getting lumped in the same sort of category and similar, disconnect between two communities. And in Liverpool, there isn't that same sort of disconnect. Here, the different communities generally kind of mix. There's no real areas where that's the Muslim area and it's a no-go for other communities. And I think that probably contributes to the way that we're perceived in professional surroundings as well.
Now, how important is interfaith and dialogue between communities?
It's, vital. There's no other way of describing it. We live in a very fractured society, fractured world. And there are those people, as you've, rightly pointed out, who want to make those cracks between the communities bigger for their own purposes. Divide and conquer serves so many purposes for those people who have power. And we need to ensure that we don't get sucked into that. And there's different ways of doing it. Dialogue is very important. You should talk to your next door neighbors. You should be talking to your colleagues at work. You should be talking to people at the school gates or the parents. All that's important. But one thing I found, and a great example you probably remember from a few years ago when there were the floods up in Cumbria, and there were these vans of young Muslims coming up from London to help out. And there it wasn't about dialogue, it was about doing the work. We're going to help a community that's not our community, that's not even close to our community in terms of, physically, it's hundreds of miles away. And yet this work needs to be done, so we're going to do it. And I thought that, in terms of bringing communities together, does so much more, that positive work, than just, having the conversations. And don't get me wrong, those conversations are important. But when people see that you roll up your sleeves and you're delivering, that counts for so much more. And, in Liverpool, we've got those examples. We've got a charity here, the Liverpool Muslim Outreach Society, and there are non-Muslims that have joined it now to help out because they feed the homeless, they clear litter off the streets, they help asylum seekers. And when people see you actually doing the work, I think that's the best cement between communities.
Now, you were recognised by Her Majesty the Queen in 2015 for your community work. Tell us how you reacted when you got told that you were given an MBE.
Complete shock. I wasn't expecting it at all. I had no idea. And the funny thing was, the letter actually was posted in the wrong letterbox. It went to one of the neighbours and they brought it round and said, "Oh, you've got this letter," which looked kind of fairly official. When I opened it up to say, you've been awarded this MBE, was was a massive boost, massive blessing, but completely unexpected. But straight away, you have to think then, okay, you can either, pat yourself on the back for the rest of your life because you've got an MBE, or you can do some good with it. And I always said from day one, if this enables me to do more good things, then it's a good thing. If it's something that's just a badge or a sticker from the Queen, then, it doesn't really serve much purpose.
Yeah, it's very important. And you went to Buckingham Palace, and Prince of Wales, who's now His Majesty the King, Charles, give you that award. You've now gone on to be one of the Deputy Lord Lieutenants of Merseyside. For those of our viewers not aware or even interested in the structures of the royal family, and tell us what a Deputy Lord Lieutenant is and what you do and how do you get it?
So very briefly, the monarch, the King or Queen, has a Lord Lieutenant for each county. And that Lord Lieutenant is like the King's representative for the county. As you can imagine, the King can't get to every place every day. So they have these representatives. And just as with the King, the Lord Lieutenant himself can't attend every event. And so he has a team of deputies. And to be honest, I knew nothing about them until they, rang me up one day and said, "Look, we're thinking of making you a deputy." And that's when I first began to understand what it was about. And it was about being one of the Lord Lieutenant's team, if you like, in the county, and as you can imagine, you've got to be reasonably well regarded for them to want you to be part of that team, because it's a kind of serious role. You're representing the monarch, and so you're not going to be somebody who's got a regrettable past, because there are some real responsibilities that you've got to fulfill. So you get engaged with local charities. You're trying to also, for example, you promote certain groups to apply for awards. You also nominate people for honors. And so you're trying to kind of uplift your community. And so in that sense, I found it actually it's a very useful position to be in. And for me, also, a lot of these opportunities, I look at them with a slightly different lens. I think that, look, Muslims need to be in this space. So whatever you think about the monarchy, whatever you think about the government, whatever you think about, the way things are done, you can't influence any of that from the outside. So you have to be in it to influence it, because a lot of these guys, they might not have met Muslims close up. And so it's very important to me that, you might have seen Muslims on the TV. Well, here you are at a dinner sitting next to one. Let's have a conversation, and to try and, impress and influence and educate people from a Muslim perspective.
Now, a few years ago, when Mo Salah became a player in a small football club in Merseyside called Liverpool, I did a documentary for BBC Radio 4 about Islamophobia, and we talked to people in Liverpool. Sorry, I just made a smart remark. You didn't respond. I'm assuming you're endorsing my description of Liverpool Football Club. Sorry, I couldn't.
We had a very good result a few weeks ago where we scored 7 goals against a particular team. So I'm kind of still living off the...
Are you still living off the joys of that? Then you went on to lose. But anyway, sorry, we'll get off football because I'm going to get in trouble. Sorry. But the point I was trying to make is, when the people I was talking to is that Mo Salah himself, just by playing and being very good at what he does, has helped reduce Islamophobia in the town, in the city, sorry. Because there was a time when people had to pray under staircases in the ground. Now there's already acceptance, Muslim fans. How do you see it?
You know what? I mean, Mo Salah's done a lot of great in terms of reducing Islamophobia. But I always said before Mo Salah that Liverpool was actually much more welcoming for Muslims than other places were, because that staircase example is an interesting one, where a couple of guys were praying. They had no room at Anfield and they just prayed under a staircase. Somebody took a picture of it and sent it to a newspaper saying, oh, look at these guys, what do they think they're doing? But the response to that picture was overwhelming, where everyone was saying to the taker of the photograph, what's your problem? They're minding their own business. They're praying. Who do you think you are to try and make out this is something negative? So that was regardless of Mo Salah. So, then generally Liverpool has always been more welcoming. Mo Salah obviously took it to another level because he was exceptional. He is exceptional at what he does. And he's very visibly a Muslim. So, there's none of this trying to hide his faith. When he was scoring goals, he was doing the sajda on the ground, which made people think, hang on, we love him so much for scoring all these goals. It doesn't make sense that we then hate him for being a Muslim. And so a lot of people, it made them think that this just isn't logical. If we love him as a football player, as our football player, it makes sense to love him as a human being. And if he's a Muslim, we love him as a Muslim. And so he did help to really break down a lot of barriers. Obviously, for the likes of people like me, we're thinking, we've been doing this work for years. No one can, pause in the headlines. And Mo Salah comes along, scores a few goals, and suddenly he's a hero. But it was, very good for relations with other communities.
I mean, you've had a distinguished career in the law sector as well. You've done some fantastic community work and are still doing that community work. When you look back at your career, what are some of the barriers that you faced and how did you overcome them?
I have to be brutally honest with you and say, the way I look at it, I faced very few barriers. I was just one of those people, and alhamdulillah, doors would present themselves in front of me, and all I think I ever did was just open the door. And then on the other side, there was always something good. And, that's a blessing. I know, I'm not naive. I know that other people have faced many barriers, whether in the legal profession or in other professions. And, it was, even when I started, never mind when I started, when I finished 26 years later, there was only one other non-white barrister, criminal barrister in Liverpool. So 26 years later, it's not like the floodgates had opened and it was easy for the communities, different communities, to join the profession. It's still very, very difficult. There are lots of challenges, and I'm completely alive to those. But my personal story was that, you know, things just always worked out, and that's in the law and outside of the law.
And as you look to your next chapter, I mean, you're still looking good, mashallah. What's next?
You know, Allah only knows what's around the corner. And the way I look at it, you know, as long as I'm contributing, as long as you're being useful, as long as you're adding something to the world, adding something to, you know, life, then that's all positive. And it might be that, you know, the things that I did personally, maybe they are kind of coming to an end. And maybe the next chapter is to try and, you know, encourage my children and support them in what they do. But as I say, the doors have always, in the past, they've presented themselves. So I'll just make sure I'm sensible enough to turn the door handle and try and open it when it's in front of me.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much. Any advice for any aspiring lawyers and barristers out there?
Do the work. You know, it's nothing in life that's worth having comes easily.
No.
You've got to do the work. But do the work, remember Allah, and the rest of it takes care of itself.
Well, thank you so much, Zia. It's been an absolute privilege talking to you. Thank you so much. Love to the family, and look forward us meeting again sometime soon with, you know, the football score being somewhat different than what you've enjoyed a few weeks ago. Thank you so much, sir.
Look forward to it. Thank you, Shafiq.
Thank you so much. That was the barrister and the community activist, the Deputy Lord Lieutenant of Merseyside, Zia Chaudhry MBE, joining us live there from Liverpool, reflecting on his extraordinary life of service for communities. And he's a fantastic role model, and we pray that Allah gives him a long life. After the break, we're going to be talking to the new Crescent Society about moon sighting and why there is a British solution to this ever-present problem. I talk about it all the time. Anyway, we're going to see if we can get some solution. Mohammad Quraishi from the new Crescent Society will be with us after the break. We'll be taking your calls as well on 01924 231 083. Don't be going anywhere, colleagues and friends and brothers and sisters. We'll be after this. Assalamu alaikum.
Penny Appeal is here for those suffering this winter. We are here for those struggling to make ends meet. We are here to ensure Khadija's children in Pakistan always eat. We are here so Abdullah and his mother in Yemen are not freezing at night. We are here to stop children in Lebanon feeling the winter fright. We are here to give hope in times of despair. This winter, we will be there to protect the poor and those most vulnerable from the freezing temperatures by delivering essential winter kits. This winter, be there for those suffering. Your small change will make a big difference. Donate today and help those that need it most. Call 03000 11 11 11 or visit pennyappeal.org.
Better. It's out there. But you've got to chase it down. Time to cut the rope. Get stuck in. Turn him into him. Learning things my teachers couldn't teach. Reaching heights I never thought I'd reach. I'm part of a crew now. Never alone. From nowhere to everywhere. I left a small town and turned it around. I was born in Blythe, but I was made in the Royal Navy.
Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to Questions with me, Mohammed Shafiq. Now, before we move on to this topic, this week, obviously, last week, should I say, we were looking at moon sighting. We were looking at the various methods, the Saudi method, the Morocco and local moon sighting methods set up by the New Crescent Society in particular, and many others. And really thought about, wasn't it great on Thursday that we all started Ramadan together? If you follow my tweets on Shafiq UK, I kept everybody up to date as to what was happening both in Saudi, but in Morocco, but also here in the UK and around the world on those announcements of when Ramadan was starting. But it was beautiful. We were all together and Ramadan being started on the same day. And was there just an outpouring of appreciation and love that we started this blessed month together. Now, let me just tell you, set out the principles of moon sighting and the calculations which are used by the three methods. Saudi Arabia follow the birth of the moon and the Qura calendar. This is a 100-year calendar based on calculation, based on the birth of the moon. And we'll come to that later on because we think there might be some conflict at the end of the month. So they follow the Qura calendar. And very, very rarely do they deviate from that calendar, even though the science might suggest something else. Morocco follow local moon sighting. They have over 278 local moon sighting groups that go out to around the country to look for the moon sighting. They report that into the Awqaf, the Ministry of Awqaf, and then the government makes an announcement, and it's based on the actual sighting of the moon. Now, the New Crescent Society, Wifaqul Ulama, and many other Jubandi Sunni organisations based here in the UK follow local moon sighting here in the United Kingdom. And when the moon is not seen, they complete 30 days. They describe it as a truly British solution to the problem of moon wars. And we'll be interested to hear what you think as well. But the New Crescent Society was set up to bring Muslims together on a formula based on not following other Muslim countries like Saudi Arabia or Morocco, but to be having a British solution to a very uniquely international problem. Mohammad Quraishi is from the New Crescent Society. He was out last week with his colleagues, his brothers and sisters and friends, trying to see the moon. And wasn't it great to see the images of the moon being seen here in the UK? Pleased to say Mohammad Quraishi is joining us live now from the town of Blackburn in Lancashire. Mohammad Quraishi, Assalamu alaikum, Ramadan Mubarak, how are you? How's it going?
Wa alaikum assalam, khair Mubarak. How are you, Mohammed Shafiq?
I'm good. How's your fasting going?
It's going, alhamdulillah, it's going well.
So far, so good, yeah. I'm starting to feel it around this time. But alhamdulillah, still a great blessing. Tell us, for those viewers who don't know anything about the New Crescent Society, what is the New Crescent Society? What do you intend to aim?
Yeah, the New Crescent Society is basically working to bring the Muslims in the UK together and to actually come out and sight the moon right here in the British Isles. So it's important for us to adopt the same method that Morocco adopts, which is to look in their own country, up and down the breadth of their own country, get sighting reports and corroborate them and start the beginning of their months with that sighting. Similar things happen in South Africa. Saudi Arabia claim to do this similar thing, even if it's for like 4 months of the year, and other countries too. I believe Bangladesh have a similar system and others. So this system is adopted even from places from where in the past or even to now we borrow the moon from and start our days on this, or some of us do. So we're just saying, look, all these other Muslim countries, they're practicing the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. They're going out, doing the moon sighting in their locality, acting accordingly, and we should do the same right here in the British Isles. And that's basically the focus of our work, is to get people, to train people in moon sighting and go out sighting the moon, and in as many locations as possible, and also to open channels of communication with all stakeholders to bring them onto this one platform. Because our main issue with division is following other countries. X group wants to follow one country, and another group wants to follow another country, but we've got to bring the moon home to us, so to speak.
Okay, so let me just share a hadith with you. Rasulullah ﷺ said, whenever you sight the new moon of the month of Ramadan, observe the fast, and when you sight it at the new moon of Shawwal, this means for Eid, break it, and if the sky is cloudy for you, then observe the fast for 30 days.
Yes.
What lesson do you take from this hadith in relation to the three formulas I outlined at the beginning of this program? The Saudi method, which is based on the on the birth of the moon, the Moroccan method, generally speaking, and many other countries that you mentioned there, which is based on the sighting, and then obviously the new Crescent Society, which is the same, isn't it? Sighting here in the UK.
I'm happy you asked me that question, because I have dealt with it time and time again. And the solution to our problems is contained in this saying of the Prophet ﷺ himself, that, look, if you sight the moon, which is when we go out to sight on the 29th day, and if you successfully sight it, you start the next month. And if you don't sight the moon on the 29th, you complete 30 days. And that includes if you don't sight it due to cloud cover. Okay, this issue of cloudy weather is addressed by the Prophet ﷺ. It is addressed by Prophet ﷺ to the extent that, look, think about this as a normal human being. Is the entire earth cloudy all at the same time? No, it never is. So if that is the case, local sighting is at least implied here in the hadith, because cloud cover happens in regional areas. So we can take the sighting from our locality, and if it's in a faraway country, that has no bearing to us. But if in our region, if we see the crescent moon, we begin the month, and if it's cloud cover, up and down the country, then we even complete 30 days. But that's okay. And there's one more thing attached to this, especially for UK Muslims, is we're now, alhamdulillah, overcoming this old inferiority complex, that if we don't sight the moon, or if it's too cloudy, we need to start panicking and what's the next country doing, or what's that country doing over there, or what's the other country on the other side of the world doing? It's like, no, it's to complete 30 days because it's cloudy.
Okay.
Is also a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ.
Okay, let's go through the methods then. What do you make of the Saudi method and the Qura calendar? Again, Saudi Arabia follow the birth of the moon, because they say that science has made massive strides since the time of Prophet Islam. So once the moon is born, that is sufficient for them, and it matches what their Qura calendar says. Just briefly tell us what you think of that method.
Well, both the Quran and the Hadith talk about the hilal. The hilal is a crescent. We know linguistically it means a crescent.
Yes.
Now, at conjunction, we do not have a crescent. At the birth of the new moon, just to explain to what the conjunction is, at the birth of the new moon, it's what we call a zero moon. It's completely pitch black because the sun doesn't light up any of the moon at all. Okay, so that's a zero moon. You have to wait for several hours, sometimes over 24, for that crescent to start to form. So to start the moon at zero moon, I don't understand how that could even happen. That doesn't. It makes no sense, and it doesn't conform with Hadith. If they adapted their science to perhaps accommodate, the formation of the crescent and everything else, maybe they have something. But even then, I'm, as someone from New Crescent Society, even if the Saudis followed actual moon sighting and they didn't follow the conjunction and they waited for a crescent, it has no bearing us on living in the British Isles. We still need to sight the moon here where we are.
Okay. And then let's go to the second method, which is Morocco. Many people in the 60s, 70s and 80s adopted this Morocco method as the newest Islamic country. What do you make of their method of local moon sighting, and is that an acceptable form?
What Morocco do in and of themselves, nothing wrong with it. In fact, we're adopting what they're doing here. Okay? The issue is sometimes following Morocco while you're here, whereas most months of the year we tend to synchronize our moon sightings. Certain months of the year we don't synchronize. Our moon sighting isn't in sync with Morocco. And what problem that causes is that if we were to, for example, borrow Morocco's moon sighting at the start of the month, even though by rights we would have to wait a day and we saw it in the UK, what would happen is that when it would come to the so-called 29th following Morocco, it would actually be the 28th in the UK, the real 28th, according to how it's visibility, lunar visibility. The problem there is that wherever you are on the Earth, you will never see the crescent on the 28th day. It's always 29th or 30th day. So we misaligned by following foreign countries, whichever foreign country that may be. Any foreign country. But when you sight locally, you're in complete synchronicity with the system. I mean, we call it, a lot of the ulama referred it to Chand ka Nizam. Follow the Chand ka Nizam where you are, the moon system.
Okay, and so your method, which is you've outlined tonight in the program, and we've got about a couple of minutes before the break, and I just wanted to get this out to you. The new Crescent Society method is local moon sighting.
Local moon sighting, according to the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, which has been, even according to our ulama in this country, have been stated very clearly that this is the strongest position in normative Islam.
Okay.
We've only gone to other countries because we thought we had a problem sighting here.
Yeah.
We no longer believe is the case.
So probably got about a minute left. So I don't know if I should ask this question, and we'll come back to you after the break. But certainly, you've introduced a third method, which brings you in conflict with the first two methods. Why should they drop their method and adopt yours?
We've not introduced the third method. This is the first method. This is the
you've adopted local moon sighting. Yeah, the first one is Saudi method, a Moroccan method, which is generally what people use. People either follow Saudi or follow Morocco. You guys come along, and if you don't agree with either of their methods, you introduce your own method. So you could we can still potentially have three Eids. I'm being told, sorry, we're coming to a break, and it's unfair of you to start.
After the break.
It's unfair of me to ask you to start talking about this before we go to the break. But it's a very important topic, and you see, I get passionate about this because really we all want to have one Eid and one Ramadan. I come from a town called Rochdale. Alhamdulillah, we have unity amongst the various different groups and diversity in the Muslim community, which have agreed the method, which is Morocco or South Africa. Anyway, we're going to explore this with Mohammad Quraishi because he knows a lot more about local moon sighting than I might know. We'll take a break. We'll open the lines as well, 01924 231 083. Join us on the other side of these very important yet short messages. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Entertainment.
Your Majesty.
Oh, Colin!
We've found something.
Well, what have you got in there?
Look, the blue-eyed creature is killing the blob.
And here, they perform strange, elaborate mating rituals.
Gross.
There's more. Just command something to play, and it will. They just give it away. For free.
Imbecile. Still, suppose we could give them 20 to 30 more minutes.
Should I fetch the biscuits?
Very well. And Colin, the good biscuits.
If you have given that person something to open their fast with at the time of sunset, you get a reward of their fast.
Help feed the fasting this Ramadan and open your door to Bab al-Rayyan.
Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to Questions with me, Mohammed Shafiq. My special guest this evening is Mohammad Quraishi, who's joining us from the New Crescent Society. He's from the town of Blackburn in Lancashire. and we were discussing moon sighting and this method. So let me, pick up that point, Mohammad Quraishi, that we were reflecting on the Saudi method, the Morocco method. The accusation made against the New Crescent Society is you've created a third method, a third formula, a third approach, and instead of unifying the British Muslim community, you've further divided the community. What would you say?
No, I mean, this language of third way or third approach is totally inappropriate. And I would argue this is actually the first way of doing it. And this is exactly the description we just discussed in the hadith before the break. That in our locality, we look for the moon, and if we see it start the month, and if we don't, or it's cloudy, we complete 30 days. And I explained exactly how the cloud issue would only indicate a local situation, because it's a phenomenon of cloud cover globally just doesn't work. It's just local. That's the way it is. Secondly, these issues of other countries, Morocco follow local sighting. They sight the moon up and down the country where they live, and they work their Islamic calendar accordingly, and they don't follow any other country. South Africa do the same thing. Bangladesh do the same thing. Saudi Arabia have their own calendar. You might not agree with their system, but they have their own. We do our own right here in the UK according to our skies, what we see above our skies. And we're doing the same thing they're doing. We don't import their moon, but we follow what other countries follow. And a lot of those countries are following the Sunnah method, and they're quite successful. And we've now trialed it for almost 6 years here in the UK, and it's quite successful here too. And we have the data to prove it.
But there have been times, have there not, when you've had those that follow Saudi on one particular day are doing an Eid, people follow Morocco the day after, and then you've even on one or two occasions had your Eid on the third day, because you obviously follow the local method, which is local moon sighting as well. That doesn't lead to unity. It leads to further division, does it not?
No, unity is going to, look, there was disunity anyway, okay, first and foremost. Unity is going to come when we unite on a single position. That's when unity comes up. It's just that we've demonstrated, and let's give the credit where it's due to all these other Muslims who tried this a few decades ago. They did attempt to sight the moon locally, and they agreed that this was the normal position. And going abroad and taking sightings from other countries was an exception to the rule. In fact, the fatwas they received from the Darulooms abroad confirmed that this was an exception to the rule. And when, I believe last year or the year before, when the same institutes were asked for a fatwa now, because we had at that time 4 years of data, they came back and said, look, if you were given that fatwa on the basis that you couldn't see the moon in the UK, but if you can see the moon in the United Kingdom or the British Isles, you're forbidden from going to any other country. You have to look where you are. The issue is not even religious, it's become very political. But that being said, let's not be negative. We have built inroads. We have open channels of communications. We've even had conferences, even before Ramadan, with other organizations. We shared platform with organizations. We are agreed in principle that sighting in the UK is the way to go. It's just about getting there and when and getting everybody on the same page.
Okay.
I do believe people do believe there's no alim out there who will give a fatwa to say that you in the UK to go out and sight the moon, start your month, is haram. No alim will give that fatwa.
No, because it's not. You're absolutely right. It's the Sunnah, isn't it? But what's the support been like from for the New Crescent Society from mosque and Muslim organisations here in the UK?
I think it's building up. I think we had the Cambridge
Central Mosque,
Central Mosque, not outright following us, but they've agreed to follow our program. They do monthly moon sightings. They followed it this year. They even did a video to confirm that this year. I think we shouldn't push mosques and organisations to adopt this way right now, but at least do some moon sighting training. Learn how to do moon sighting in the UK, because the problem is because we don't do it, we don't realise it. And all we're saying is that look, if you do it, train how to do moon sighting. Once your congregation knows what moon sighting is and how to do it, the penny will drop and they'll embrace it anyway. I think the only way is going out and seeing. Seeing is believing, as I usually put it.
Yeah, but isn't it time now, because you've done this for 6 years, isn't it time now for those Muslim organisations, MCB, MAB, you know, the sort of Brailwi school of thought, the Shia school of thought, the Bandi Al-Hadith, you know, whichever title you, and diversity is beautiful in the Muslim community, but for all of them to be brought together and at least consider adopting this for 1 year and then reviewing it and seeing if it works.
I think there's a review system has been put on the table.
Okay.
We've done that. We are outreaching. Not everybody sees it. I know people at home think, but it's happening. I personally attended a one in Bolton before Ramadan. There was another one in Sheffield. So whether you're Sunni, Shia, even Brailwi, you know, our other differences aren't an issue when it comes to the moon. You either go out and see the moon, or you don't. A moon is something, you know, everybody can testify to and verify and check that is there or not. So all of the differences actually should be put to one side when it comes to our calendar.
So the honest question is, how can you convince those that have followed Saudi for decades to drop that adherence, and those that follow Morocco or South Africa, for example, because they're on the same time zone or whatever reason they give, to drop their adherence to that and follow this uniquely British solution, which is local moon sighting?
Well, look, you know, you're talking about these other countries. Look, the United Kingdom and Morocco, we started Eid on the same, not Eid, Ramadan on the same day. Yeah, Australia and South Africa started on Friday, started the day after. Yeah, and that's according to their local sighting. So the thing there is that even this thing, sometimes we're not, you know, people feel that we'll be left behind. You know, if we leave a day, we'll be trailing behind. But, you know, this very month, South Africa and Australia, which is on the other side of the world, are trailing a day behind. So it's not. Sometimes it works that way. Sometimes it works this way. It's fine. That's how the system of the moon works.
Yeah, but you have to get them off following Saudi or Morocco, and I think that's the crux of the matter, isn't it? Because you had a Morocco method, which was generally in the 60s and the 70s, the various ulama from all groups were united on, and then sorry, can I just make this point? So they're united on Morocco. They then decided to say, well, actually, it's easy just to follow Saudi, and then the sort of groups follow Saudi. And I'm just thinking, at some point, you're going to have to ask them to drop following them countries, aren't you?
Oh, we're already asking them, and we're already having outreach towards them. We're already sitting down with them, and we hope to have further meetings in the future. That work is all going on. What I tell people at home to do is, look, learn about moon sighting, try it yourself. Try people at home to do it. Again, like I said, nobody's going to give you fatwa to say you can't go out and look for the moon. So go ahead and learn it. It's the Sunnah Prophet. So Sahaba did it. You do it too, and that will basically draw you to it. It's like praying namaz. Once you start praying, get used to it. You do it on autopilot. Once you do the moon sighting, and you catch the moon sighting, but
you actually enjoy it as well.
We enjoy it, of course.
I'm just coming to the end of the program, and I promise we'll come back to this towards the end of Ramadan, inshallah. But according to the Greenwich Observatory reports, and the al-Qura calendar currently has Eid al-Fitr for Saudi Arabia and the countries that follow them on the Friday, 21st, I think it is, of April. But the science says it's impossible to see the moon on that Thursday evening.
Yeah.
And, you know, Morocco, you know, it's clear, you know, you can see the moon on the Friday night, so Eid would definitely be on the Saturday. It's the same for the UK as well. So there's a bit of unity there. I've got 3 minutes left. Just explain, what do you make of the fact that the al-Qura calendar goes against the science to say it's impossible to see the moon?
as we discussed earlier, and you mentioned in your introduction, is that, look, that is a birth of the moon calendar. That's a conjunction-based calendar. It's not a Hilal-based calendar. Yeah, let's call it what it is. It's not Hilal. And if anybody knows Arabic, the word Hilal means crescent. And we just explained why the new moon, the zero moon, is not Hilal, it's not crescent. It needs time to mature and become a crescent in order to be visible, provided the atmospheric conditions are there. And if they're not there, we complete 30 days. I mean, it's all links back to what we've already discussed. And what the Saudis would have to do in their own situation, we're not in Saudi, it doesn't apply to us, but they would need to do a Hilal-based calendar rather than a birth of the moon-based calendar.
Yeah, but you do think, based on your experience, and you've got lots of years of experience, you do think that we will be split this year?
No, I'm not going to go out and say that. I'm the optimist. I'm hopefully we will be live streaming the moon sighting, and everybody will be watching, and everybody will be looking at what everybody's doing, and they want. I mean, obviously, I think you might just be right. There might be people who staunchly follow Saudi Arabia and do 29 days, but it is looking like, according to the science, it is looking like 39 days. But our job is on the 29th to go out and attempt to sight the moon.
And to carry out the sunnah. Well, thank you so much. We've reached the end of our time together, Mohammad Quraishi. Thank you so much for joining us on this Sunday evening. We'll come back to this issue, I'm sure, towards the end of the Ramadan.
You're welcome, and thanks for Jazakallah Khair for inviting me.
Always a pleasure. Great to see you, and remember us in your du'as. Mohammad Quraishi there from the new Crescent Society, joining us there. And just enlightening us about the sort of UK-based formula, which Mohammad Quraishi, let's correct ourselves, has said this is not a unique third formula. It's actually the first formula, the sunnah. The sunnah is to learn how to see the moon and then go out and sight it. But as I said, we expect there was going to be somewhat difference. We'll see what happens in the weeks to come, particularly towards the end of Eid al-Fitr. Right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll head to Ohio in the United States and talk to the author Aya Khalil.
So the flood is still ongoing, and in this province, 500,000 houses have been destroyed. Through phase 2, we will be covering monthly food rations, we will be covering the kitchen utensil, we will be providing the hygiene kits. Your donations enable us to reach here and support these people. Please dial 03000 11 11 11 and donate generously.
Better. It's out there. But you've got to chase it down. Time to cut the rope. Get stuck in. Turn him into him. Learning things my teachers couldn't teach. Reaching heights I never thought I'd reach. I'm part of a crew now. Never alone. From nowhere to everywhere. I left a small town and turned it around. I was born in Blythe, but I was made in the Royal Navy.
Ah, so you like figuring stuff out?
Huh?
Come on. Can you solve this?
Yeah.
All right, clever clogs. Can you get all this done? Whoa.
Sorry.
Easy. Or maybe you can boss it.
Okay, need 2 more in here.
Or are you chill enough to fly that?
Fly that thing. No, this thing.
Everyone's got that one thing they were born to do. Find your force in the RAF.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Questions with me, Mohammed Shafiq, live here on British Muslim TV, Sky Channel 752. We're broadcasting across social media. We are across the world on satellite. Wherever you are joining us, a very warm welcome. My guest is the award-winning author and journalist Aya Khalil, whose latest book is titled The Night Before Eid. As we look forward to a month of fasting, the book is about a Muslim family story about faith, history and delicious foods. Aya Khalil was born in Egypt and moved to the United States when she was 1. She's lived in a number of states and currently lives with her husband and 3 children in Ohio. Pleased to say Aya Khalil is joining us live from Ohio in the United States. Aya, assalamu alaikum. Warm welcome to the program. Ramadan Kareem.
Wa alaikum salam. Ramadan Mubarak. I'm so excited to be here.
We are super excited and honored to have this conversation. First of all, you were born in Egypt, as we said. So you're Egyptian, mashallah. You grew up in the United States. Tell us about your childhood and upbringing.
My childhood, yeah. So I was born in Egypt and I immigrated to the US when I was 1 with my parents and my brother, who's 2 at the time. We've lived across many different states just because of my dad's work. We traveled a lot, we moved around a lot. And now we are in Ohio. I grew up mostly like in small towns with not a lot of Muslims. Yeah. So I lived like up north in North Dakota, which very, very few Muslims live there. And then we moved to the Midwest eventually. And it's a pretty good, large Muslim community here, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, because often when you go to these smaller communities, is the Islamophobia, is the hatred and racism increased? Or is there less because people are fascinated by living with somebody who's from a different background?
Oh, wow. So it was a long time ago. So when we moved to the US in 1988. So this was a really long time ago. It's pre 9/11. Yeah. Not a lot of course, social media. People didn't really know about Muslims and Islam at the time. So in North Dakota, it was pretty good. Like there was really nothing really blatant Islamophobic to your face, just because people didn't know who Muslims were. It was like their very first time seeing somebody in hijab, like my mom, or people who had accents, like my parents. So in North Dakota, it was okay. It was like elementary school. People were pretty accepting. It was when we moved to a little bit before 9/11, like in 1998, 99, when we moved to Minot, North Dakota. I'm sorry, not Minot, North Dakota. We moved from Minot, North Dakota to Lima, Ohio. And that one, yeah, we did face some issues there, just because, first of all, like it was middle school, and me and my brother were the only Muslims in the whole school, besides one more person. So we faced just like microaggressions, I would say, like from teachers, classmates, and things like that. But we had really good neighbors. And then 9/11 happened, and then people, for some people, this was the very first time that they saw Muslims on TV and saw all of this stuff. So we moved actually shortly before 9/11 happened to Northwest Ohio, where I live now, Toledo, Ohio. And yeah, of course, like after that, like many, probably like all Muslims across America, yeah, they faced a lot of Islamophobia.
Yeah, it was rising Islamophobia, particularly post 9/11. You talked about your lived experience in regards to that period, but we do know that there was a massive increase in the number of attacks against Muslims, or people who were perceived to be Muslims. The very first anti-hatred killing after 9/11 was a Sikh man who was killed because he looked like a Muslim. How did you experience that period, and what lessons did you learn from that?
So we were at an Islamic school when it happened. And so I remember our Islamic school had to shut down. So being like a teenager and now thinking back on it, we were scared and we were wondering, why is our Islamic school being shut down? Like none of us did anything. But, the administrators were explaining, we have to shut down because of your safety. So it was just really sad that at such a young age, like when we were teenagers, we were facing that hatred. I know there were things that were happening like at the mosques also around us. I think one of the mosques was something happened like with the glass over there. And then again, over the years, Like it's just a continuous process, right? So it never really stops, and it continues to happen until today. We also we had like issues with trying to get a permit to build a masjid in town. A lot of people came. I remember it vividly because I remember we gave like a nice presentation about like a community center, how we want to build a community center, and people were there and they were angry and they were mad about it. They're like, no, you're not going to build it. And they gave reasons that were, just didn't make sense at the time. So this was as an adult, and I'm glad my kids were really young too, that they weren't able to understand that. So yeah, unfortunately it's still there, it happens, but I think it's getting better for the most part, I think, just because we're out there and we're visible and we're speaking out against it.
Yeah, it makes a big difference, and particularly having politicians elected now from a Muslim background, like, Rashid Talib and, many others. My mind's gone blank. Anyway, so where did the passion for writing come from?
Yeah, so it's just always been there. So I've always just loved writing and reading. When I graduated from high school, I said I want to get into something writing related, and I really liked journalism at the time. Again, it goes back also to the narratives and who's telling our stories. So I would look at the media and be like, who is telling our stories? Because this is not written by a Muslim. It's very Islamophobic. It's very anti-Islam. Like, why are these people telling our stories? So, alhamdulillah, so I graduated with a bachelor's in communication and English literature. And yeah, I worked for newspapers for a while, for local magazines. And then I kind of shifted gears a little bit a couple of years ago when after teaching for a little bit, I just noticed the bookshelves, because at the time I had kids of my own, and I noticed bookshelves with books of kids who didn't look like my own children, so who were Muslim and who were Arab also. So I didn't see that a lot on the bookshelves. And so I was upset about it, and I was like, you know what, maybe I can write a book. And I thought it was really easy because it's just, like a picture book. But it was not an easy thing to do. So this book came out, and it's called The Night Before Eid, and yeah, it just came out a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Which we're going to be talking about that particular book. Excited just after the break, the Eid book. But you've published a number of other books. Tell us briefly about them and what's the reaction been to them?
Yeah, so the Arabic quill came out in 2019. No, in 2020. I'm sorry. It got sold in 2019 and it came out in 2020. And yeah, it's done really well. It's won a few awards. It's what else? It's just sold a lot of copies. Like a lot of districts have bought like thousands of copies of the book. So it's done really well, alhamdulillah. But unfortunately, it was on a banned list in 2021 in Pennsylvania. So basically, like a district banned a bunch of books, and the Arabic quilt was on one. It was one of them. They banned a bunch of diverse books. So unfortunately, it was on that list, and so. Yeah, so I wrote another book about that, about book bans and protests, and that one is coming out in August. It's called The Great Banned Books Bake Sale.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And then you've got the book which you showed us there the night before Eid. Where did the idea? Because I know as a kid, the night before Eid is like one of the most exciting nights for a child. Getting excited, the smell of food, the preparation, just the family being together. Where did the idea come from?
Absolutely, yes. So a couple of things. Again, so the fact that I couldn't find any Eid books, and I was like, a lot of times I was asked to go read in my kids' classroom, like an Eid and Ramadan book. So that was like my main thing. I really wanted to write an Eid and Ramadan story. But yeah, again, like you said, all the joy that's filled with the night before Eid, like the baking and the families getting together and just the celebration and the fact that you finished like a hard thing, like you finished fasting for a whole month, and it's a really hard thing, and you're doing it for the sake of Allah. So it all it just all feels so good. And it's bittersweet also because you're sad that Ramadan is over, but also you kind of want to celebrate your accomplishment. So yeah, it's basically that. It's basically the grandma is baking kahk cookies, and they're an Egyptian cookies. They're very popular in Egypt and actually like around the Arab and Muslim world also, just with different variations. And so Zayn, the main character, he's just really excited to welcome Teta and his grandma who's here from Egypt, and bake the cookies together. And he wants to share it with his classmates. So that's kind of like a big thing that he, because it's also Eid is part of that sharing and giving to our neighbors and relatives and teachers and classmates.
Yeah, because that's really important. We're just coming towards our break, where after the break we'll talk a bit about how people can learn more about the book. But just tell us briefly, how difficult was it to get into the publishing business? Because that can be sometimes difficult, can't it?
Yeah, so it was really difficult. So
we've got a special guest as well, haven't we?
Oh yeah. This is my little one, Halima. So
hello, Halima.
She's my helper. She reads my books when I write my drafts, and
it's fantastic to see.
She's a great helper.
She's made my day. You know that Halima's made my day. I've always wanted to see a child suddenly appear on a screen, and so my dream broadcast is completed. Fantastic. Thank you. Sorry, you were saying.
It was really hard finding a literary agent, and that's the person who really like represents you in your books. It was 2017 when I started querying, and then I found representation. Alhamdulillah, an agent wanted to represent me because he liked my story, the Arabic quilt. So I thought, that's it. Like, my book is going to get published, but it's still like the beginning, because that's when you guys, when you send out the manuscript to editors and you want an editor to buy your book, to acquire your book. And that took months. That took like months and months. And at one point, we were just like, what, we might just set it to the side and try to see what else I've written.
Just pause there. Sorry, Aya, we just need to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll continue the important conversation with a special guest, the award-winning author and journalist Aya Khalil, who's joining us live from Ohio in the United States. We'll take a very quick break, and we'll take some of your comments which are coming through and questions coming through on 01924 231 083, or get in touch with us on social media. British Muslim TV is the handle. Join us on the side of this.
Right then, let me show you around. This is where the action happens. Great thing about this job, every day is different. It's our new piece of kit. Good enough. It can be hard work here, but we know how to have a laugh. So then, when can you start?
मुझो नालो आ सकीना लिहाज़ गोठ में रहता हूँ बरसात बहुत ज़्यादा पई घर बुढ़ी या बच्चा वठी भगा से सिर्फ बचाए भगा से कुछ न बचो जायूं किरी पियूं कचूं हूँ पेट ढवलाए था सिकऊं मानी कॾहिं अचे थी कॾहिं नथी अचे कॾहिं खाइनि था बच्चा कॾहिं नथा खाइनि लटनि बिना खणी भॻाऊं पहिरें उघाड़ा आहिनि बच्चा बस तर तबाह थियो आहे खटा बि कान्हनि कुझु बि कान्हे बेवाया थीने लिखता हूं घर खां असांखे इदारे वारनि दाल ॾिनी चांवर ॾिनऊं गिहु ॾिनऊं खंडु चांहि ॾिनऊं साबुण तेल ॾिना अथऊं पेस्टियूं ॾिनियूं अथऊं बचड़नि जा तोलिया ॾिना अथऊं जेके तड़कराए असां साफ़ करे विहायूं बच्चा असांखे हर चीज़ इदारे वारनि ॾिनी आहे अलाह असांखे उन्हनि खे वधाईंदो गिहु ॾिना अथऊं हर चीज़ ॾिनी अथऊं असांखे
Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to Questions with me, Mohammed Shafiq, exclusively here on British Muslim TV. We're talking to our very special guest, the award-winning author, writer and broadcaster, Aya Khalil, who's joining us live from the state of Ohio in the United States. Aya, we were talking just before the break, lots of young girls who want to become writers, want to become journalists, and they are looking for positive role models. Do you see yourself as a role model for young Muslim girls?
I'm not sure. I hope I am. I hope people will look up and say, oh, I can be a Muslim author. I can be a Muslim journalist. And it can be done. So I hope so. I hope so.
Inshallah, yeah. Your book is just being published. As we said, it's available now in various bookstores. It's even available here in the UK. It's titled The Night Before Eid. Just tell us, remind our viewers who are just joining us what the story is about.
Yeah, so it's about Grandma and Zain here, and they're baking together, and they're just having a really great time baking. Sorry, my daughter wants to
No,
say hello.
she can join us. Hello, Halima.
No, okay. Sorry.
This is absolutely normal. It's fantastic, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
ice cream, but we're talking right now.
So you were just saying the story about Grandma and the night before Eid, the smell of cookies, the smell of sharing, just that. I don't know, when I look about my childhood, the night before Eid is like way the most exciting thing.
Yeah, I love this spread here because they finally baked the cookies and they shared it with the classmates, and they're just having this really nice moment. They finished night, but one of my favorites is when they're actually sharing the cookies, when Zayn is sharing the cookies with his classmates.
Wow, that's fantastic. What's the reaction been? Because you just published this now, but what's the reaction been from the Muslim community, but publishers and reviewers and?
Yeah, it's been really great, alhamdulillah. We have like a really popular store here called Target. I'm not sure if you've heard about it, but they decided to carry this book. It's a mainstream, like really big store, and they decided to carry it at their store. So it's really exciting. People have been sending me pictures of them spotting it around like the whole country. So it's been really, really exciting. Alhamdulillah, a lot of libraries have been carrying it. A lot of like bookstores have been carrying it. I've been seeing like in classrooms. So it's been getting a lot of great feedback. And it's just nice that it's so mainstream that it's just normalized. Like people can go and buy this book about Eid from anywhere.
Yeah, and it's about also not, I suppose I use the word normalizing, but actually just giving an indication, like the night before Christmas, the story, which is about very similar, children be very excited about getting their presents and Santa coming. And so there's a positive element to the story as well, isn't there?
I think so, because everybody can relate to it. So I always say, it's anybody, regardless if you celebrate Eid or not, because there's so many elements. There's that baking and the excitement and the intergenerational families, of course. Zayn, a lot of people like to bake with their loved ones, especially during the holidays. So I think a lot of people can relate to it.
Yeah, and I mean, certainly when you look back at your life, I mean, because you don't just write in terms of being an author, you're also a journalist and writing in mainstream publications. How's that been for you?
It's been really good. I'm kind of focusing more on writing now, but I mean, up until maybe like 2 years ago, I was writing for like a local parenting magazine, and that was really nice. Just like the flexibility and like there's no tight deadlines like in newspapers, like when I used to write for newspapers. That was great. It was really nice to tell other people's stories and find like the little things that maybe other people didn't notice, and I can write about that and interview people. So I really, really liked writing for magazines and newspapers too. Newspapers was really cool too. I really liked them. But I like to connect with children more, so that's why I'm focusing more on the books.
Yeah, and I think focusing on children have a lasting impact on their lives as well, and that's a really positive as well. You're an award-winning author. The Arabic Quilt, an Immigrant Story, which got a Charlotte Hook Award, and you also got a 2021 Arab American Book Award, amongst many, many other accolades. How does it make you feel to be able to be recognised and get these beautiful awards?
Yeah, so I think I have a lot of imposter syndrome. So every time the Arabic quilt won like an award or an honor, I was like, really? Seriously, for real?
Have you got the right person here?
Yeah, so I had to kind of take it all in at once, but then it's been really great that it's recognized in especially like awards like NCTE and big publications like that. So it's a really great feeling.
Yeah, well, it's absolutely fantastic. Halima's keeping you active there as well and showing you what you can do in terms of being multitasked, for focusing on the interview as well and just also being a mum. We're very, very grateful. What have you learned about yourself during your life?
Besides multitasking, because I wrote this book actually in 2020, and Halima at the time, she was about like 9 months old. It was during when the world shut down because of the pandemic. So I remember carrying her also. So she did a lot for this book. I was carrying her in my arm while she napped and I was writing this manuscript. So she's really important when it comes to this book. Yeah, so I learned that again, like, we can do hard things, I guess. And with every hardship comes ease, because again, I wrote this when the world shut down, like things were so uncertain. Nobody had any idea what was going to happen in the next couple of weeks. I was teaching my kids, I was doing e-learning with my older 2 kids. And so there was a lot going on. And then this came out of it. So there's just like some hope, I guess, and love and joy that can come out of hardship. So I like to kind of remind myself of that, and other people too, that, it's okay, like things will be hard, but in the end, with hard work and trusting Allah and making dua, things can happen, good things can happen, inshallah.
I suppose, as an author, how do you want young Muslim children who will read this to feel about themselves?
Oh my gosh, I really hope that they feel proud, and I just get so much joy when people, like even adults, when they, like my friends or just adults, they say, hey, I saw this book at Target, like on display. I couldn't believe that there's like a Muslim person who's just on display, like at Target, just walking around and seeing it. And I never saw that. So thank you for doing this for me. My child self would love that. And so just thinking that kids see that too, and will be able to see themselves at the stores and bookstores and libraries, it makes me feel very good. It makes me want to just keep on writing.
Yeah, that's really, really important. What's next in your story?
So yes, I have the Great Banned Books Bake Sale that's coming out in August. And again, it's about Kenzie, who's in the Arabic quilt. She finds out that the diverse books in her school district have been banned, and she's upset about it, of course. And so with the help of her classmates and teachers, they plan a bake sale and a protest. So that's coming up in August. And yeah, I'm still writing and still getting a lot of rejections. So we'll see what will come out of that.
Keep going as they say. And the book is available here in the UK as well. It's available because I've ordered it. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with my young daughter as well. Thank you so much. I suppose my final question, what's your message to our viewers watching this about your story and any lessons that they can learn from your story?
From this story or just in general?
Just in general from your life.
Just in general, yeah. I would just say to, again, just keep persisting. Things can get hard at times, but it's okay. It's just part of life, and just trusting the process. Good things can happen after or within hardship. So just keep on going. I got like hundreds of rejections, so it'll happen in the end with a lot of hard work and persistence.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you to Halima as well for joining us. Halima there, Aya Khalil, the award-winning author, joining us live from Ohio. Love to you and the family. Thank you so much for sparing the time this Sunday.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Aya Khalil, the author, writer and broadcaster, joining us live from the state of Ohio in the United States. And that book is titled The Night Before Eid. It's out now at various bookstores here in the UK, and you can get it in hardback and softback as well. And yeah, it's available to order now, and you can get it before Eid. That could be a beautiful Eid present that you could give to your children and your young ones, a beautiful story, because that's something that's missing from our bookshelves, is it? The sort of diversity of the books that we allow our children to read. A story which is about a grandma and a grandchild, and the night before Eid, baking cookies and sharing that with themselves and their community. And that is the message of Ramadan as we finish tonight. The message of Ramadan is one of community, one of sacrifice, yes, from giving up food and water, but also to be better human beings, to reach out to our neighbours and to our wider community, and letting them also benefit from the blessings of Ramadan. And you don't have to be a Muslim to appreciate that, the sense of community, the sense of solidarity, and the sense of coming together. We pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you a blessed month of Ramadan. And when you do pray, please do remember to pray for myself and the whole team here at British Muslim TV. We've reached the end of another programme. I want to say a big thank you to our special guest tonight, Zia Chaudhry, MBE, DL, Mohammad Quraishi, and just there now, Aya Khalil. We'll be back again next Sunday at 4:30 with another edition of Questions with life stories from those making a difference to communities around the world. And I just want to say this to you as well. Alhamdulillah, here on British Muslim TV, we've got a packed new schedule of programmes that will be coming up. And obviously, each evening, you'll be hearing from our charity partners who will be here showcasing the important work that is done. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ in the month of Ramadan. Make sure you establish your prayer, give your zakat, and also fast, and understand the importance of this month. This is a beautiful month. There will be people who were with us last year at the dinner table who were not here. And there will be people this year who are with us who will not be with us next year. Allah knows best how long we have on this earth. But remember, we should be asking ourselves, what sort of legacy, what sort of memory we want to leave behind. And I hope that's one of tolerance, one of respect, and one of love. From me, Mohammed Shafiq, and the whole team here at British Muslim TV, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a restful Sunday evening and keep watching British Muslim TV and the fantastic programs we have. From me and the whole team, look after yourself and each other. Inshallah Aziz, the whole team here at British Muslim TV in the studios here in Wakefield. From me, Mohammed Shafiq, the producer, the whole team, take care of yourself and each other. And we'll see you very, very soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.